have this vivid memory of sitting in the bathtub one time and just crying.
I think I punched my dad once.
You're not in charge of me right now. Like, you just won't leave me alone.
I had an epidural in my back, so I couldn't move very well.
She just wanted me to keep pushing and keep going.
Everybody had one. Like, if you didn't have one, you were looked down upon.
This is a show where teenagers share their experiences growing up in today's world. I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and this is A Teen's Perspective. Welcome to A Teen's Perspective, helping parents see the future. I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and today I have Pierce Meza. Is it Meza or Meza?
Meza, you pronounced it correct, yeah.
Oh, okay,
it's,
Meza.
Spelled backwards, but Meza, M-E-Z-A.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, hello. Nice to meet you, my first podcast.
Cool, yeah. And I know Pierce's dad, so that's how I was able to get Pierce on the phone.
You also know my mom, I think. I don't know if you remember her, but she knows you. She worked at 2222 Dental, and I told her I was doing a podcast with RJ. She's like, I know RJ.
What? And what's your mom's name?
Her name is Lois Croft. She has a different last name than mine. We actually live right here behind the big red car wash.
What?
Yeah,
That's
this
cool.
is where my mom lives, yeah. So
nice, yeah.
It's pretty convenient.
Yeah, because I go into, so I'm an orthodontist, and I go to all the dental offices to go meet the team. So I'm sure I met your mom there.
No,
that's awesome.
Smart. Yeah, no, it's smart to get out, get your name out. How long have you been doing the orthodontist?
So I've been an orthodontist for 7 years.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely seem young compared to the guy I went to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. My team always say that I'm an orthodontist by day and a life coach by night. This podcast is for the parents. Mm-hmm. My job is to bridge the gap between today's teenagers and the parents, because it's so different. Even from when I was a teenager, it's so different. Having a cell phone and social media, I mean, that creates a completely different experience as a teenager than as an adult. So we're going to first ask you about what was your experience growing up?
As a little kid or once I got to high school?
I would say little kid, walk us through all the way to high school, yeah.
Well, as a little kid, I felt like, looking back at it now, I felt like I had the most perfect life ever. Like my parents, they eventually got divorced, but before they were together. And I've been observing your family and how you seem to run your family. It definitely seems similar to how my parents ran their family, with just my dad. He had his own business, but it was very important to him to see his kids every day and come home and spend time with them, because that was important to him. And it definitely, it just definitely helped. Definitely helped overall. But like I didn't worry about anything when I was a kid.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't have a nanny. I spent time with my mom. Was a full-time mom.
And when did your mom transition to start working?
Well, after my parents got divorced, she had to get back into the workforce. So she ended up going back to school after she got divorced, and ended up getting a job. And just from there, she's just been moving up, meeting people. So she's been back in the workforce after I was able to, where I didn't need her anymore. I was able to start, I think, middle school, she started going back to school so she could get a better job. So during middle school, I was able to go to school and I didn't need my mom as much anymore. So and I'm the youngest kid. I just me and my brother. Have you met my brother?
I did meet your brother.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I did meet you. He's taller than you, right?
No.
Oh, you're
I'm
taller?
the taller one.
Oh, okay, yeah, but I think I did meet your brother. And what age did the divorce, how old were you at?
So I was in second grade, I think around between 8 and 9.
Okay, so you remember it?
Yes,
okay.
I remember it very clearly.
So share with us, if you don't mind, the experience for you as an 8-year-old.
I was very shocked. Like, I didn't even see the family problems at the time. I don't know. I was shocked when they sat me down and told me and my brother. So yeah, it turned my world upside down.
Wow. And what was your response to that? Like when they sat you guys down, do you remember your response at the time?
My immediate response was I was pretty upset because I didn't know what that meant. Totally. I mean, it wasn't the worst. Overall, the divorce definitely made me more self-sufficient and just like really on my own, which is just, I don't know. I just can't imagine being just super controlled by my parents. Not controlled, but I became very self-sufficient and just on my own. After my parents got divorced, both my parents started working. And so everything that I wanted to do, I kind of started doing on my own.
Interesting. My parents actually got a divorce as well, but it happened much later. I was in college when it happened. I coached teens, and some things I have found is that some teens kind of act out in certain ways just to, I guess, cope with the experience. Did you find that, did you have any coping mechanisms, or did you act out in a certain way?
I feel like I acted normal for the situation. What do you mean by you've talked to kids that have acted up?
It's a range. I mean, some kids completely just shut off their communication with their parents in the way it used to be. I mean, obviously you have to talk to your parents, but it definitely changed as far as the relationship for sure.
Yeah, I could see that if a parent cheated or something and you didn't know that. That didn't happen in my case. It was just, they just both went their own ways. But I could see if a parent cheated on a parent and you didn't, and you trusted them and you thought they were worthy of not lying and cheating. Definitely a different outlook if you look at, if you know they cheated, especially if it's your parent.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because you say your mom stayed at home, but after the divorce, like you mentioned, your world was turned upside down.
Yeah.
What was the experience like where you were used to seeing your mom and then now everyone's, both parents are working?
Well, just some things were just, I'd have to start having fun on my own. I would play video games as a kid, but maybe if I was coming home doing my homework with my mom, like I was as an elementary kid, and just spending every day some time with my mom, just instead of that, just coming home and spending it with my brother, and just spending time, just less time with my parents.
Got it.
That was the main one.
And as far as your brother, what was his response? Like, how did he handle this?
He was a little more mature at the time. I mean, we're 3 years apart. He's 3 years older than me. So he was around 12, 13 when it happened. But he always stayed mature. It definitely affected us. I wasn't going to say it didn't affect him, but he just showed me how to act kind of a little bit. I mean, it wasn't easy. We both had to learn stuff on our own. But I think it affected him just as much as it affected me.
Got it. So when you think back to middle school, what were some of the challenges?
I mean, at that point, I was already used to my parents being divorced, but I was full in middle school just mode of playing sports, hanging out with my friends, longboarding all the time. Just kind of.
Oh, longboarding.
Yeah.
Cool. Any injuries?
Oh, yeah. Banged up knees, scrapes. Nothing serious, though. I'm still here. All bones are not broken.
That's awesome. What would you say then as the transition to high school? So 8th grade, you have your friends. It seems like you already understand the parent dynamic as far as two parents living in a separate house. So what was that transition moving to high school like?
Just the next step of really becoming on your own. And then the final step is after high school. But going from middle school to high school, it's kind of similar to middle school until you get your car. And then it takes off. Then life starts.
You're right. Yep, and I have got a chance to see your car. It's a nice car. So
Not as nice as yours, though. A black Batmobile.
So talk to me about the sports. So you mentioned you did longboarding, but what other sports did you play, I guess?
In middle school, I tried a bunch of stuff. I played soccer as a kid. I played a lot of sports as a kid. But in high school, I started to not do as many. Towards the end, I didn't do any sports. But in middle school, I was doing football, soccer. I did a little bit of basketball in middle school, and then I did pole vault.
Oh, cool.
Pole vault was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Which sport did you stay with in high school?
In high school, I ended up doing soccer and football for freshman year, and I did track freshman year. So I was doing everything freshman year, and then I just stuck with football till junior year, and then I ended up deciding not to do football senior year. I wasn't going to play, so I didn't. In my head, I wasn't going to waste the time.
Yeah.
The coach was trying to keep me, and I was just he's like, not everyone's going to play, but we need those people on the sideline motivating. And I'm like, I'm not a cheerleader. That's why we got cheerleaders.
So what passion did you find as far as middle school, high school? Like, what passion did you discover?
Well, after I stopped playing sports, I kind of was kind of floating a little bit. Kind of had to find a passion, but I've really started liking just health. Working out, eating right, feeling good. That's what my current passion is all about.
And how did you discover that?
Well, I lost all my football weight after I stopped playing football. So I went from 200 pounds got down to 145.
Wow.
I was really thin. And I was getting sick a lot. I was my immune system wasn't right. I was, it honestly felt like every month I was getting sick twice a month.
Wow.
For probably a few months. And this was senior year. And I was just tired of feeling sick. So then I started eating right. Not vegetarian. I still eat meat. But
Also, when you decided to quit football, how much of your dad's advice did you take, or his influence helped you make that decision?
my dad's advice has always been, I want you to do what you think is right. He doesn't want to tell me what he thinks I should do. Well, he'll tell me right or wrong, and he'll point me in the right direction, but he wants me to ultimately make the decision, which I think is smart, because if you do everything for your kid, they're eventually just going to collapse once you let them go into the real world.
Yeah, and I know your dad, and he's very relaxed and kind of laid back. Was he like that as a parent growing up?
Yeah, he's always been relaxed. He's always pushed me towards my goals and what I like doing. He's always supported me, which has been a huge thing, which I realize some parents don't even do. So it definitely that's a huge thing. It's pushed me towards my goals, but he's always been relaxed. But I think it just has to do with how educated he is. He's the most educated person I've ever met. I know I'm meeting you now, so that might change. But he's not a doctor, but it just, I don't know. It's just a different thing. But after my mom, this is a different topic, but after my mom went back to college and my dad being highly educated, it definitely shown me that education is very important. And with them showing me that and not just telling me that, like watching my mom go back to school while I was in school was an important thing for me, because now I value education. Because if I didn't see that and it didn't push me, I don't know if I'd be going to school right now.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And do you remember the experience with your mom studying, then you needing help studying? Like, how does she manage all of that?
I got help from my dad and my friends with school, because she was very busy with school at the time. And she was able to help me, but middle school work isn't the hardest stuff. Simple math, and I don't know. It wasn't the most difficult, but she was definitely able to help. But it wasn't an easy time, because she was really busy and stressed. Like, she had to do this at the time. So it was just definitely a learning curve of watching.
So share with me the difference in the parenting style between your mom and dad.
Okay, so both of them have kind of let me be and kind of let me make my own decisions, which has had its ups and downs, but they haven't been super on me my whole life. I don't know if it's because I'm the second kid and they just cared about the first kid. I don't know if that one's it, or they're like, just watch him and good luck. But I think they were just laid back, and I think they only needed to step in when they needed to. If they saw something was wrong and I needed help, they kind of, I don't know. When I say I see some kids feel controlled by their parents. Well, I definitely had some friends growing up that they didn't try anything, and then once they get to college, they try everything, and it's kind of loose cannon. It's like, you gotta let your kid try a few things.
And what about discipline?
Discipline, I learned discipline through football. Like, they were really serious with the discipline at football. I know I didn't stick with it at the end, but I learned a lot how to act as a young man through football. But with just having a single mom, I had to act a certain way, kind of, and my brother had to act a certain way too, kind of like protection in a way. I don't know. It felt like that to me as a kid. So definitely learned discipline quickly with having to learn it on my own a little bit.
What was a discipline like with your parents? I mean, were they more than enforcers, or they gave simple punishments?
Well, my dad definitely had punishments if I did the wrong thing. But, I mean, it's going to sound worse, but once my parents got divorced, get in trouble at one house, you go to the other house. And you just go back and forth. Yeah. So don't get divorced.
So when you said that, are you saying that, like I say, you did something wrong at school, you would get in trouble twice?
No. Well, I never really got in trouble at school. So I never felt like a problem kid. I was never a problem kid. I never felt like I was in trouble growing up too much.
That's awesome.
So I watched my brother make the mistakes. So you watch one, you don't make the same ones.
Yeah.
That was a huge one, actually. That was what I was missing telling you.
And then, so let's talk about high school. What was the biggest challenge that you can remember? You graduated last year, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what was one of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome in high school?
Well, definitely last year I had a problem not a problem, just life hit me. I had a few friends pass away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good now, but it just hit me right away. I had my best friend's mom passed away, and this was all within like 15 months. And then I had my cousin passed away, and then that hit me. And then my motivation for school kind of disappeared a little bit. And I don't know, it's a little touchy subject, but that's why I'm like this. But
That's okay.
school started to go down a little bit towards the end. I didn't know what I was going to do the year after, and this was when I was getting sick a lot. So it wasn't like the glory days yet. But just the deaths of the people, just like, I don't know.
So you noticed schools going down. How did you cope with that situation?
Well, eventually my parents stepped in. They were both working full time, both very busy at the time with their jobs. So I was really just on my own all the time. My brother's at college, or he's just not living at home. And so I was really, I was on my own. I was fine with it. Never felt like, I felt like I was fine on my own. But then my parents started stepping in. Like, my mom knew this counselor at the time, and it was a tough time because the word depression was getting thrown at me, and I definitely didn't feel depressed. I knew I wasn't depressed. It was just a lot at once. So my mom said she knew this person, a therapist that she loved, and so I went to go see her just because I was like, what's the worst that could happen? So I ended up going to see her. Definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made, because she has given me so much life guidance, which is like, I still see her every now and then. I don't know. She's actually helped a lot. And I think just having someone that a kid can go to honest and just feel like they can say anything they've done, anything they have questions about, and just not feel like they'll be frowned upon if they tell their parents something, that they'll look down on them. That's a big thing. But touching into that subject, you can't, if a kid's doing all these horrible things and they're still coming home every night and telling their parents that also can't be happening. So it's nice as a kid having a mentor or someone older than you who has experience with stuff, being able to talk to them and just get guidance, just have more information.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing some of the things that this guidance that she gave you?
I mean, I'm not going to share all of it, but she's definitely said, just believe in yourself more. You definitely just have to just look at perspective, just change your perspective. Well, I ended up having a third friend pass not too long ago, and he was my age, and that was the first kid that was my age, and that passed out of the last three people. And I was hanging out with him a few times, and it just made me realize you just don't have time to waste. And you hear that a lot, and people tell you that, but once it sinks in, and once you experience it, and once you realize you really don't, that's when you start working towards something that you like, or start realizing you just don't have time.
So when your parents started to get more involved, did you tell them that, hey, this is happening, or did they just notice changes in your behavior?
A little bit of both. I was telling them. I didn't tell them right away, and I wasn't seeing them all the time because they were busy with work, so they didn't really know what was going on for a while. And then I eventually told them, and I was just, you got to ask for help eventually. Every now and then you just got to be okay with asking for help. It's not a bad thing to ask for help. So I learned that with going through that experience. You should ask for help if you need it.
Great advice. What pushed you at the point to ask for help? Because in some teens, when you're just not comfortable sharing a lot with their parents, so what kind of help guides you to do that?
Well, with my mom, I have that relationship that I was talking about with my counselor, where I feel like I can go to her with anything. So that definitely made me feel like I could go to her I didn't feel like, I can't go to my parents. So that was a huge thing. So I was able to, just that small step was huge at the time for me. But I was able to do that, go to my mom, and that was able to help me. I got that same feeling from my counselor, my older mentor. She, just that whatever I've done, they're going to help me with moving on towards the right direction and what they think is best for me, and just a different perspective, and just I have that with my mom, great relationship. So I was just able to go to her.
And what were their reactions once they discovered this information?
Well, they definitely weren't happy, and you're definitely not expecting this from a second semester senior in high school, because you're thinking this is the easiest time of your life. This is the most fun. But I don't know. That's not what was happening at the time. But yeah.
Yeah, and what was their role through the process? You say you're still going through the process now. So what has their role been?
My parents?
Yeah.
Just supporting me. I mean, my dad definitely, I know he's my parent, not my friend. He's gonna tell me things that I need to know when I'm going through life. Definitely gonna let me know things. And I know some friends that their parents are just trying to be their best friends. And you just sometimes you need to be a parent and just tell them, let them know things that they're doing wrong, or let them know going into situations. My dad's told me a bunch of things about life. Just my whole life, he's been telling me things that are just good life lessons and quotes, and he's a very resourceful person.
Yeah, and at what moment did you realize that when your parents are telling you things that they know what they're talking about? Because I know for some teens, it's more like, oh, whatever. But at what point did you recognize that?
Well, I've always valued what my dad has said, because he's, like I've said, just a super smart person and just has gone through a lot. Just graduated college, had his own business. He's just gone through life. He's done a lot of different things. So I definitely learned very quickly that he knew what he was talking about when he talks. And just the way I've seen him deal with situations, every situation, he's just very exact with how he approaches a situation, with trying to learn as much going in before he starts the situation. He gets prepared. That's just a simple, you got to be prepared for everything. Just the most you can be prepared is just going to help you more. And just learning that from watching my parents, that was a huge thing. And definitely just whatever your parents do, the kid's going to do what your parents do. It's just a learning experience.
Yeah, and that actually starts super young. And my little 6-month-old and even my 2-year-old, he's picked up a lot of our mannerisms. So your grades went down, and then share with us the experience to finish, because you graduated and you're in college now.
So I ended up graduating high school. So after I graduated, I felt like I was back to normal. I'm good. I feel fine now. I feel good. I feel motivated. I'm happy. I'm having fun. I feel fine now. After I graduated high school, I've just been doing life. I've been taking classes at ACC. I've been
awesome.
Back at the high school. I was trying to factor out what I wanted to do next year. And then once I figured out I'll just do ACC, made it a lot simpler. I wasn't stressing about anything. It just made life easier. And then I started doing it. It's been doing well. I'm ready for next semester. It's nice to get this week off. That's what I've been doing.
Yep, getting ready to eat.
Exactly.
Thanksgiving is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So through this process, have you discovered your passion?
I haven't discovered my passion, but I have passions. I like doing things. I love working out. I've really gotten into that. I really just love hanging out with my friends. I see the importance of education, of going to class, doing that. I'm not going to sit here and say I love going to school, but I do definitely see the value of educating yourself with watching my parents. That was a big one.
And what has been the toughest part of being on your own as an adult in college?
The toughest part?
Yeah. They call it adulting.
I mean, I don't have a job right now. So I'm watching my money. It's not difficult, but I got to watch it. So that's the first part of adulting. I don't know. That's what I've been watching as an adult, my money.
So school's going well, and the biggest thing is just watching money, making sure that you're budgeting properly.
Yeah, well, I worked a lot over the summer. I think I mentioned that I worked at a marina over the summer, and I kept my pizza job. So I had 2 jobs over the summer, and I worked a lot so I wouldn't have to work this first semester. So I got a little bit saved, so I could just focus on school.
Now, did you have a job in high school?
Yes.
Oh, you did have a job?
Yeah,
okay.
I had the pizza job in high school.
Okay, and when did you start that?
I started that right when I got a car. So 16. Car, money, chicks.
All right, so let's talk about dating, because you just mentioned.
Dating. I had a relationship in high school for 2 years. That was an experience. Kind of just both went our own ways. And then it's kind of just, after that, I haven't dated anyone. I don't want to date anyone. Dating's expensive. Ties with watching the money.
What kind of advice did your dad give you as far as dating?
Be respectful. Definitely respect the parents of her parents. Definitely different because I'm a boy. And if I had a girl, I feel like it would definitely be a lot different as a parent with the whole dating thing. But as a guy, you're just like, good luck. But definitely respectful. That was the big key. Just be respectful.
Now, in what way has a divorce between your parents influenced how you see relationships, if any?
Definitely love isn't real.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
I
I'm
was
kidding.
saying,
I'm kidding.
talk to us about that.
No. No, I'm just joking. Definitely makes me see the importance of a strong relationship. Makes me value real friends, and you want to make real friends, and just why would you waste time spending time with someone that's not going to respect you or respect what you're going for? You definitely, friends. That's just, you want to make friends and real friends.
In high school, I'm coaching teens, and there are pretty much common things that come up. So there's always some themes. So it's basically, there's this idea that most teens want to be accepted or popular. Then there's another aspect that usually come up of some sort of bullying or feeling like left out. And then the other aspect is some sort of peer pressure, being encouraged to do things that you probably feel is wrong. So I want to ask you the first one on the side of the bullying or feeling left out. Share with us your experience or even your friend's experience.
With bullying?
Yeah.
I haven't had any experiences with bullying. I didn't put up with anything. So I feel that if someone was starting bullying, it definitely didn't go anywhere with me, because it's just, if you stop it where it starts, it's not going to keep going. That's some advice to someone who's dealing with that. Maybe it's too late. I don't know. But my friends, I didn't feel like, I didn't have any friends that got bullied.
How important was popularity in your experience?
In my experience, I didn't care about it. I felt like I had a good group of friends that liked to go party, so that was fun. I never felt like I was trying to make myself popular. Definitely, if anyone's trying to do that, I think that's the wrong way to go. But I didn't care too much about being as popular. I just wanted to have good friends and have fun with my friends and go through things with my friends and have experiences.
Yeah. And then what about peer pressure?
Peer pressure? Definitely didn't feel any peer pressure. You could see peer pressure, though, with the whole vaping and smoking and just do it. You're definitely a huge peer pressure. Like, yeah, peer pressure is definitely there and definitely visible to everyone in the school.
So it was a common theme.
I mean, if everyone's vaping in the school, then I think everyone can see, the teachers can see that the peer pressure is going or the popularity is going. Okay, yeah, I guess you could see it. Like, if someone's vaping, then you could just, I guess if someone thinks it's cool and then they want to do it, then I guess that's a reason someone might do it.
So why do you think that this vaping became so popular?
Because it's addicting. I think that's why it's popular. I think once you try it, then you're on it forever, or for a while until you choose not to do it.
So it was in your high school. It was a big issue in your high school.
Yes, that was like, I mean, not an issue at the time because it had just came out, but now we're seeing the issues.
Got it. Even on this podcast, I mean, every one of my guests, I would say, mention vaping or.
Well, I saw one of the questions on there, so on the sample sheet. So yeah, I was kind of excited to talk about it a little bit.
And how did you and your friends resist the peer pressure?
I resisted because it was clear to me as a kid that just nicotine, cigarettes are horrible. And I just saw that this was the same thing. And so I never did it, honestly. I don't even know if I can name 5 people of my friends that don't do it or haven't done it.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, that haven't.
Oh. Sorry, I thought
Other
you
way
said-
around.
Other way around.
Everyone does it.
So when you were talking to your friends, what was their like motivation for doing it? Just like you
I
heard
think
about
they just
all
tried
the-
it early on. A lot of kids did it early on, and then you try it, and then once you try it, you instantly get hooked, and it's just a money machine. But a thing, I don't know. I think if someone was thinking about it, or if you have a kid, definitely just say it's not worth the money. Like the amount of money you spend on it. I've seen all my friends, or not all my friends, but all my friends except for 5 spend a lot of money. And almost every single one of them have told me they've tried to stop.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Every single one of them have said, I've tried to stop or I'm trying. They definitely don't like it, but they're addicted now. But
Wow.
that's the problem. But the bigger problem is kids aren't educated on the vaping. Because when it came out 2 years ago when I was a junior or a sophomore, vaping was better than cigarettes for you. They're supposed to help with nicotine addiction. They're supposed to help. But that's definitely not the case. They started making the super nicotine, Juul, I don't know. They just started making they just put more and more nicotine into it. So once you hit it once, you're instantly addicted to it. And one cart of Juul is worth 1 pack of cigarettes. And I know people I knew people in high school who were going through the packs like they're nothing. It was worse now than I'm assuming 40 years ago.
Wow. Wow. And it's shocking that those companies can get away with that.
I don't know how.
Yeah, because it seems like they're actually targeting the teenage population.
Seems like the most illegal thing ever, and they're getting away with it.
And so when you look at your friends and you look at your parents, are parents aware of this?
That just brought another thing to my mind. Another thing is, I was thinking about it this last week of just why didn't I vape? I don't know why I didn't do it, but my parents never did it. Both of my parents never smoked. They don't smoke around me. They don't smoke.
How many conversations have you guys had centered around vaping and smoking?
A few here and there. Just growing up, I knew it was bad. Now, I didn't know much about vaping. I've told them I think vaping's dumb, and I told them I don't do it because they're like, they probably wonder if I do it because I've seen stuff on the internet of, oh, your kid definitely vapes. Not to me, but blogs of people who are reading it. They'll just let them know if you have a kid, he vapes.
Oh man, is that popular? Wow.
I haven't seen anything more popular.
And it's funny because just show you how clueless I am about what's cool.
It's not cool,
You're
by
right.
the way.
And I'm completely oblivious to all of it. Like I heard of vaping, but it wasn't until my first guest on the show explained to me like what it was. Because I was like you. I actually thought the vaping kind of replaced the cigarette, help you get off of the cigarettes. And then they're like telling me about Juuls and these other things. I'm like, what in the world? So yeah, it's shocking. And like I say, I think it's a shame that teenagers are getting targeted with the commercials and the packaging. I know it's like scented mango and all kind of other stuff. So yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, well, the effects are starting to come out now. After a
Yes.
few years, you see people in the hospital, kids are starting to die. Teens are getting left with 80-year-old lungs for the rest of their lives. People are just starting to realize once you are educated on it, if you're not a dummy, you're most likely going to make the right decision.
So you think that's the answer? Is really just trying to provide more education because you're thinking that most teens just do not know the effects of it?
Yes, I honestly think if more kids were educated on the vaping, I think they would make the right decision. But it's tough because I've heard of kids in middle school start like vaping and stuff. So it's getting younger and younger and younger, which is sad. But I remember as a kid the drug classes we'd have to go through in elementary school, and it was just targeted on weed and cigarettes and alcohol. There's no such thing as vaping yet.
Oh, I see. So it seems like we need to kind of add
It's a
that.
new thing, so
Yeah.
we have to. You kind of had to make your own judgment, and when it's a popular thing, people buy in, and that's where the problem is. But definitely, first, if you're trying to solve the problem, you definitely have to educate the kids on it, and then you have to stop. They can't be getting it somehow. I know they make it 21, but you got to crack down on people who are distributing illegally.
Oh, okay. Because essentially that's how.
I mean, you have to be 21 to buy it now.
Oh, okay. So
They
you have to
just
be
changed it
21.
from 18 to 21, but
Interesting.
kids are still getting it. So
Wow. How would a kid get something like
ask
that?
a sibling, ask a friend, ask someone who's 21.
And in all of this asking, parents are just unaware of this?
Vaping is the most camouflage thing you can do. They do it in school all day long. So
in school?
Yes. The Juul, have you seen a Juul before?
No, I've never seen it.
This is going to be fun. So a Juul probably looks, it's like a USB stick, but longer, probably twice as big as that.
Okay.
It is the smallest thing you can fit in your pocket anywhere. People would hit it during class all the time.
I mean, do you have to light it?
No, it's electric. You just
So there's no lighting?
charge it when you go home, and then you just pop a little pod in, and then you cancer
And they do this in school?
all day long.
In class?
All day long.
And teachers
can I
are
go to
unaware?
the bathroom? They're aware. They just can't search kids. I've seen it to where, like, the teacher knows something's up because it smells fruity. It's like, what's this mango fruit watermelon blast? And it's in chemistry class, and then they're just they're like, I know you have. I've seen it to where the teachers just kind of stop vaping kids. I've heard of teachers being fed up and just kind of stop, like yelling and stuff.
So they smell it. So they know.
No, yeah, you definitely know. You can definitely smell the scent.
Even as a student who's not doing it, you can kind of tell something's going on.
Yes.
Now, if the person who's doing it, does everyone know who it is, or you just know that it's happening?
Yeah, because they do it all day long, and you can see them just. You can just see them secretly put their hand up and cough or something, or
Because it makes you cough?
just
Just
have
to try to
an
hide.
excuse to have their
Got
hand
it.
up and hit it. They're just, yeah, I don't know, or put their head down. There's just so many ways kids will find a way to hit something.
And do you think the motivation is doing this in class? Is it just that they're that addicted, or they want to be cool?
Once you start doing it, and then you quickly realize you're addicted, I think that's what happens.
So you can't even wait until after school. I mean, you have to do it literally in school.
Yeah, a lot.
Wow.
I knew a lot. Like, I think you'd be really shocked on if you saw what I saw.
Wow.
With just every time I went to the restroom, I got asked if I had one, if someone could hit it. Just a random kid I've never met. That knew every time. Just someone saying, "Can I hit your vape?" And I was like, "I don't have one."
Wow.
It's,
Really?
It's a big thing.
And principals, teachers, what are they trying to do?
When I was there, I hope they've come up with a better plan. But at the time, there was not much they could do because vaping was brand new. And I remember the first Juul was in my class, like the first real portable, small nicotine device, which blew up. That was sophomore year for me, so 3 years ago. They were blindsided by it. But so sometimes they'll know kids have them, but they just can't search them. They can't touch a kid, so girls will just put it in their bras, and I don't know what guys do.
Wow, man. That is, and as far as the parents, right? I mean, eventually you go home and parents are not aware that somebody's high or smells fruity.
Mm-hmm.
What did you notice the parents, what were their reactions?
If the parents go home and their kid's kind of stoned, I guess.
Yeah, if they see signs. I mean, did you hear of any kids' parents really getting involved with the process, or do they just turn a blind eye?
I mean, I know a few parents that if a parent tries so hard and the kid keeps doing it because he's addicted, it's really hard to, I don't know. I didn't see, it's a hard thing. Well, I think a lot of parents vape too. I think. Not a lot, but I think some parents vape. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good question. I don't know why some parents wouldn't step in. I haven't thought of that because I haven't had my parents step in for this because there's no need. I don't do it.
That's great information. I appreciate you sharing that with us because all that I'm learning is literally from this show. Like you mentioned, I'm hoping that there's progress to stop targeting the teenagers on this.
Mm-hmm.
These companies, I know they want to make money, but there's other ways.
Yeah, I think the cigarette companies are going to start making a lot of money because once they started banning Juul, I've noticed that some people my age have started smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, wow, that's exactly what we didn't want happening.
Right.
And now the cigarette companies are just sitting back, enjoying what Juul did, and the other small vape companies that are getting banned now or getting in trouble because now people are having to switch to cigarettes to get the amount of nicotine that they were used to from the devices. Because before, I don't know if you knew, the box mods, that's what they're called. They're a big brick. It's probably the size of this with a little tube at the front. And that was the introduction of vaping. That was the beginning of it. So probably like 5-10 years ago, I'm assuming that's when it started. But you had some big telephone brick in your hand. And
Oh, I see.
And so once they were able, the vaping companies, to make it hand tiny and camouflaged, and you're able to hide it, that's when it blew up in school. Like absolutely blew up.
Got it.
Because I knew a couple kids that were bringing the big box mods to the to the school, and I'm like, wow, that's risky. But you do you.
Yeah. So I know we talked some time about the vaping, but share some good things about.
About vaping?
No, definitely not. Share some good things about just being a teenager. I mean, what just the amount of fun?
Oh, it's so much fun right now. I don't even know. I'm living life. I don't know. Just hanging out with my friends has just been the best refreshing thing ever. Because a lot of them were gone for college, and then they came back this weekend, and they're here for the week.
Oh, awesome.
So that's been awesome. Seeing familiar faces that I haven't seen in a while.
We haven't talked about social media, but how has social media impacted your high school experience? How did
My
it?
high school experience or high school experience in general?
Yours, yeah. How
Mine-
did social media impact it?
I've never been a huge personal social media. I mean, I had the Snapchat, the Instagram, but I didn't put that much effort into it. I didn't see it as a huge time that I wanted to spend into it. I don't know. I've definitely wasted my fair amount of time on it, but I haven't put that much energy into my social media. So I haven't built up my social media because it's not too important to me at the time.
Yeah, so it sounds like for you, it was the friends is a big one. Longboarding was a big deal.
Well, longboarding was just in middle school. I didn't do that in high school. It was definitely just friends, and I dated in high school that girl. I was dating, friends. I don't know, just doing experiences, going through things. I did football the whole 3 years. So that was going through that with my friends that were doing football. That was fun.
So I'm going to ask you this question. It seems like just me knowing you, I mean, you're definitely a good kid. You're going to be successful. How much of that do you believe is you were just born to make good decisions? You know, some kids tend to be good kids. Or your parents training you and kind of molding you into that good kid?
Well, my parents definitely aren't training me or motivating or pushing me and every day, but they're definitely there, and I feel the love, and they're definitely I definitely feel like everything I've gotten to, like how I gotten here to this point, is all from my parents. If I was put in a different family, I don't think I would be the same at all. So this is definitely 99% my parents and 1% born with the gene,
That's awesome.
the genetics.
Yeah. Now, before we go, is there some recommendations, some advice that you can share with other parents who have teenagers? Maybe they have a 12-year-old that's actually about to be a teenager, and is there any advice you can share with them?
A big one would be definitely you have to let your kid learn on his own. He definitely has to. That's what I had as a kid, and if you're asking me, that's what I'm recommending, is you have to let them learn on their own, because that's what they're going to have to do eventually. So if you let them learn that as a young kid, it's going to be easier. But you just have to know when to step in. But it's also a different family because I had 2 different houses and 2 different parents that don't stay in contact. So it's 2 different homes, 2 different lifestyles, 2 different. If you're living under one roof with 2 parents, it might be a different set of rules than I had. But I think it's important to let your kid experience things on his own.
When it comes to teenagers, coaching is so effective because we use proven techniques that help teens identify goals and develop actionable plans to achieve them. If you're a parent and you want to learn how to use these coaching techniques to coach your own teen, visit us at coachyourteen.com. Pierce shared his experience with death of a loved one. Parents, if your teen has lost someone who they were very close to, then please join our Facebook group and share their experience. You can find us on Facebook by searching A Teen's Perspective. There is much to discuss in this interview from a coaching standpoint. And Pierce shared with us early on that his parents got a divorce. So what I want to share with you today is how to maintain a healthy family environment with divorce. In my experience as a life coach with teenagers, I have seen a wide range of emotions and behaviors as it relates to parents getting a divorce. So in order to maintain this healthy relationship, it is very important that you consider these 3 points. Point 1, share with your teen. It is natural as a parent to want to protect your teen. So there is this tendency to want to not share the details of the divorce. Teens want to know. And if you don't share anything with them, all they can do is guess. And when a teen starts to guess about their parents' relationship, it only causes more stress and more anxiety for them. Now, when you're sharing the details of the divorce with your teen, please refrain from bashing the other parent. And the reason for that is no matter what relationship you think they have with that other parent, deep down, your teenager loves that parent. So it can possibly backfire and cause tension between you and your teenager. Point 2, you want to include them on any decision making. So if you're currently going through the divorce now and you have teenagers, it's so important to not only share with your teenager, but also include them on any decisions, because ultimately it does affect their lives. But also, teenagers generally have a great understanding of their siblings. So this will help with communication with the younger siblings in your household. And finally, point 3, ask them what they need to do to help your relationship grow. So as parents, we often assume what is best for our kids at any given moment. Therefore, we sometimes forget to ask certain questions. Teenagers generally do not openly share their thoughts, so it's important that parents ask questions. The relationship between the parent and the child is the best medicine during these difficult times. So it's important to ask your teen, what can I do to help this relationship grow? Or what do you need from me? If you have a mature teenager, a lot of times they're so focused on you that they're going to tell you they don't need anything from you. They're just so concerned that you're hurt. They want to be there for you. And that's awesome. But keep in mind, teenagers go through a wide range of information. So keep asking them, what can I do to help grow this relationship? They may not recognize it right then when you ask them, but eventually they will recognize what they need and they'll share it with you. Well, I hope this interview will help in some way with the relationship between you and your teen. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much for all of your support. Please review, rate, and subscribe, and share with a friend. Once again, I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and this is A Teen's Perspective.